That reminds me, actually, I've restarted, so I'm gonna have to go to ish. Oh, there are more down here. Oh. Oh, I see. Well then. Well, entering the time machine and not knowing what comes next. Got that. Ah, fair enough then. I somehow missed all of those. Oh, there's a ladder there. What was that? What's that noise? And I thought this machine was active. I guess it wasn't active in this time period. Just you can go back to any point. That bugs me actually, because I've heard this theory about the fact that you can only go back to when a time machine's during when the time machine was active. According to the actual scientific theory, you can only go back to a point when it was actually switched on, not a point after it was switched on, but you can only go back to times when it was switched on. So.
Hey, Bobby Radford coming at you on 4th of July, and what a fine day it is too. Things are looking up for Riverport. Don't believe me? Just look at that shiny new Monarch building going
Is
up.
that?
That's a big deal for
Is
this
that an
town.
old Jack?
I know there's been complaints talking about how
Old Serene, maybe?
now this and that,
No.
taking over the mom and pop spots, making Riverport
More like an old Jack.
So when that's happening,
There's something
it
over
ain't
there.
all good. A huge corporation like that, you know,
Oh.
they're all about power and profit. But I say,
Oh, we've been cutting out shapes.
perspective. This town's been miserable for a long time.
Hmm.
A long time. When our shipbuilding industry took that flying nosedive, we hit one hell of a slump. A lot of people I know have been on
Beth
the
Wilder.
for years now, and that's hard. But and they're starting to change that big time. So they ain't perfect. So what? It beats the alternative. I want to be optimistic about this. It ain't wrong to have a hope for the future. I want to believe that this is capitalism working as intended, you know?
Go.
The American way, you could say.
Whatever. Anyway, have we already read all of this? It's finished, it's finally finished, tests are all positive. I have officially constructed a working countermeasure for a fracture in time. I can't prove it, obviously, since there's no fracture to deploy it against, but I believe it will work. It has passed every test I can conceive. There's no reason I can see that it wouldn't. Given your knowledge of the future, I'm guessing you already knew this would be the date I completed my work. The day has been a long time coming. I was beginning to doubt it was possible. I haven't heard from you in almost 2 years. Please tell me you're still out there. I'm now going to ask you to do something that will sound counterintuitive. Leave the workshop, leave the countermeasure behind, and do not return until tomorrow morning. As with all of my orders, it's best that I don't go into further detail. Okay, leaving the workshop now. The countermeasure is secured in my safe. I know better than to ask the reasoning behind this request. In 11 years, you've never been wrong, and I don't want to know about the future anyway, but that won't make this easier for me to digest. Can we meet tomorrow? Now that the device is complete, I need to know what the next steps are. And please be careful with the countermeasure. It's tremendously powerful. And sourcing the chronon particles for it alone has taken over a decade. Rebuilding would take you years and years. Cool. No? Oh, I have to walk up. Right, some more stuff there. Don't want to go through there yet. I want to go have a proper goosey around.
What's going on here?
Ish.
Since when did Will run a graffiti workshop?
He doesn't. It's,
None of this crap was here in 2016.
bet you it's Beth that's been doing that. Leaving messages for herself. We already know that. So, yeah.
What the?
Find the source of the
Someone's in
gunshots.
here.
Cool. Only just figured this out, dude. Did all the shooty bang bang not give it away for you? Ooh, get some chroma. Yeah, business. Just like you,
What the
bitch.
hell is that? The fuck are they shooting at?
Oh, it's telling me to go that way. Okay. I'm not going to go that way yet then. Are you sure it's gunshots and not fireworks? It can be difficult to tell the difference sometimes.
It's locked.
From the
I
inside.
gotta check out that gunfire before I go anywhere else.
It's locked from the inside as well. Right, let's make sure I have everything so far. Ish. 33% discovered already. So 6, 7 more things. 6 or 7. Oh, the toilette. Let's go have a goosey. Who's that? Was that Amy? I saw those thingy out there. Oh, is that Beth? Old Beth. So it was her shooting at them. I pointed them out. I don't know if you remember.
Beth?
She's aged well.
It's me. Hey. What happened to you?
She's aged very well. She went back 17 years.
There's no turning back.
Did she go forward? Wait. Is she the one who was...
Jack?
Is she the one who was hunting Serene in the future then? How come her journey was so much shorter than mine? She went to Fracture World.
Dr. Emerald sent me to the future. I
Yeah,
fought
sure.
for months trying to find a way to get back.
Cool. And how did
I
you get
wasn't
back?
the only one.
Yep, that's Paul. He said something about that, didn't he? Somebody else there with him.
I followed him back.
We saw some of this, didn't we?
He set William's machine to 1999. The first possible exit point.
Don't shoot!
It's okay. Hey, it's okay.
Is that Will when he was younger?
I'm on your side.
Who are you?
Fucking he is. Hey, Mog. What are you doing? Is that lick? I like this lick.
And you've been here ever since.
Yep.
11 years. Why? Why didn't you come back?
Good question.
We should get ready. We don't have much time.
Oh, because if she's dying or some shit? The time thing? Oh, she's already painted that. Cool.
She had changed.
Fucking Dante.
She was hiding something.
She always was.
Yes. She was hiding my dick. Wait, what? Sure, just go with it. Right, where is that? It's that way. Oh, stuff on the walls.
What exactly do you believe changed in Beth?
She lost hope.
Yes. February 28th, 1999. Back in time. Here I am, back in a time I've already lived once before. No idea how long I'll need to stay here. No idea what comes next. This isn't how it was supposed to go. This wasn't the plan. If I'm going to come to terms with that, then I'm going to need to write it all down. There's nobody to tell this to but myself. So, hello me, again. This all started back in 2016. Jack and I kidnapped Dr. Amaral. We were supposed to use the time machine to travel back to 2010 and retrieve the countermeasure. I believe Dr. Amaral switched the date at the last moment. I heard Jack calling out, but it was too late. I was already inside. There was nothing to do but keep moving forward, and when I exited the corridor, I arrived in the one place I never thought possible. The end of time. My greatest fear was realised. I'm still trying to grasp what that means. My entire life has been devoted to stopping the fracture. What I saw, was it proof that it couldn't be stopped? I can't believe that. There's a logic to all of this, a meaning. I just haven't found it yet. I'm not ready to write down some detail. I'm not ready to write down details of the end of time. Not yet. The essential part of the story is that I found a way back. I spent a long time trying to fix William's machine, but somebody beat me to it. He set a course to the earliest time the machine could operate, the first time the core was activated, February 28, 1999. I followed him through. That's when I found William, still alive, much younger than I had ever seen him. I warned him about the fracture. I told him that he was the only one who could create a solution. He begged me not to tell him anything else about the future. He said he couldn't stand living like that, being constantly aware of what will come to pass, his every action just part of the preordained dance. I wanted to tell him more, but I know how he felt. William agreed to do what must be done. He agreed to build the countermeasure. This whole time it was me who set him on that path. He says the machine doesn't have the sufficient chronon capacity to return me to the future. He says a jump that far would be nearly impossible without a substantial scientific breakthrough. Apparently that hasn't happened yet. That's his way of saying I'm trapped in 1999, second time around. So here I am, July 19th, 1999. The machine move equals success. I worked with Il to get the time machine moved. Had to make sure Serene wouldn't be able to use it to his advantage, so he moved it to the one place I knew it would be safe. Bradbury swimming pool. Ah, I see. Will spent a big chunk of his research grant buying the property. Oh yeah, it was in his Ground Zero, wasn't it? It's the one place I know for sure that Monarch won't find us. After all, they still weren't aware of it in 2016. That means this is my new home for the time being. Will refuses to build the countermeasure here. He says that it has to be done at his workshop. He chose that location to build the time machine for a reason. Something about abnormal chronon density. Anomalies, whatever. Didn't seem to concern him that the very people we need to hide from know about his workshop. Probably doesn't help that he won't let me tell him who those people actually are. The guy's almost as stubborn as his brother. Now that the movie's complete and Will is on his way, all I can do is wait. Not liking the idea of that. Keeping busy was the only thing that distracted me from the eerie nature of being trapped here. Guess I should look at the bright side. Second chance at having a killer Y2K party. September 5th, 1999. Little me, the most surreal experience. Her eyes looked so full of life, looking to the clouds, invulnerable to the world around her. She looked full of life. She looked happy. It was me. I knew the day was coming. I knew that I had to go see her and set her on her mission so that she would do what needed to be done, so that someday she would become, well, me. She was in the backyard, bright red duffel coat, playing. Simple pleasures. Strange. I remember the small details so differently the first time around. When I was a child, that woman who came to see me seemed like an angel, a limitless source of wisdom, gifting me with purpose. Now I was that woman? Trembling, a lump in my stomach, nervous as hell. It didn't matter. I knew she was too young to see those things on my face. I gave her the notebook. I told a small child to give up those simple pleasures to pursue a life that would bring nothing but pain and hardship. I promised her that it would all be worth it, that she would make a difference, that she would save the world. She believed me. January 1st, 2000, epic Y2K party. 8 bagels with cream cheese and watched Buffy reruns in a drained swimming pool. Party on. September 11th, 2001. Blah, blah, fucking blah. I tried to stop it a second time. I warned them, told them exactly what was going to happen. Nothing changed. I came to terms with the fact that none of this could be changed as a child, but since then I've seen things that make me desperate to prove myself wrong. Desperate to believe that what I've seen cannot come to pass. I tried to stop the rise of Monarch, I tried to stop Paul Serene, both versions of him. Every action was negated by the force of a timeline that cannot be bent or broken. I've tried to stop tragedy as well. Jack's parents, Christmas of 99. I knew what happened to them. This time I was there. The car crashed exactly as it was supposed to. My presence only led it to happen as it always did. I went to the funeral. I watched Jack cry. I watched Will build up a wall around himself. I watched 2 brothers change forever in that moment, and I could do nothing about it. Now this. Fuck. May 22nd, 2002. Monarch. They spotted me near William's workshop. Barely got out of there alive. After all this time, Serene is still obsessed with finding me. He won't give up until he does. I have to be more careful in the future. May 22nd, 2003. The end of time. I've been having recurring nightmares about what I saw. I'm dreading doing this. But it's time. I have to write it out. It's the only way to move past it. In 2016, I entered the time machine, intending to travel back to 2010. That didn't happen. Dr. Amaral changed the date. When I exited the machine, I arrived at the end of time. The fracture had run its course. Time had stopped altogether. The entire world was frozen in one hanging moment. I was the only one still able to function. Also, I thought. Then the shifters came. I could still hear them. Their sounds echo through my dreams. The entire world was still, except me. They really don't like movement. I stepped out of the machine into the one thing I spent my entire life trying to prevent. The fracture was never fixed. I was living through the proof. The first hours were the hardest. I was living through a nightmare that I couldn't wake up from, surrounded by constant reminders that my mission would fail. Never able to stay in one place because the shifters were always searching, always hunting. So how are they going to deal with this then? I wasn't alone. I discovered the first evidence of this a few days in. I heard the shifters become agitated, but I was nowhere near them. They were following somebody else, Paul Serene, a younger Paul, scared, weak, vulnerable. He found me, tried to convince me that we needed to work together to help each other through. He found out very quickly that I wanted him dead. He had no training, no killer instinct, but he had those damn powers, and all I had was the chronon harness. The end of the world, the only two people left, and we became sworn enemies. I can't be sure how long we spent there. It could have been months, could have been years. When time doesn't move, it feels like an eternity. Our grip on reality slipped away, trapped in an endless loop of brutal survival. Though we were enemies, there was a strange bond formulated through that suffering. We've shared an experience that no other human has ever endured. Eventually Paul managed to get William's time machine working. He was convinced that he needed to travel back to the earliest possible point in order to stop this all from happening. He'd yet to learn that the past couldn't be changed. I followed him through the machine, but he escaped. He fought Monarch, he built an empire. I watched the birth of a monster. I can't escape the feeling that my actions helped shape what he became. Maybe I could have guided him. Maybe if I hadn't tried to hunt him down and kill him at the end of time. That can't be my part in all of this. There has to be more. I wake up in a cold sweat most nights. I hear the shifters coming. I can almost feel their presence. Much of my experience at the end of time has become a blur in my memory, but there is one detail that I can't shake. One detail that brings my entire mission into question. One detail that haunts me. 2021. So the fracture actually happened in the end of time actually happened in 2021, maybe? February 3rd, 2005. Hobbies. 5 years until the countermeasure will be complete. I spend most of my days training. I don't know what happens once the device is finished, but being prepared is my speciality. I still wonder if Jack will follow the plan, if he'll emerge from that machine in 2010. Best not to think about it. I'm not giving up, but I can't let these thoughts consume me. I need to focus on the present. Focus on what is in front of me. That's the mantra that keeps me going. Just focus on the present. So I decided to take on some hobbies. Tried poetry, got depressed. Dabbled with a guitar for a while, smashed it against the wall. Then I started experimenting with graffiti. Seems to be working out okay for me so far. It's fulfilling on a few different levels. Partly as a form of self-expression, partly as a means of release, partly just to fuck with people. What happens when Joe analyses some graffiti on a wall one day, builds an interpretation in his head, and then 3 years later his depiction of that image comes true? Not sure, but it's fun to think about. I can't change anything, but at least this gives me the illusion of some kind of power. That illusion is what keeps me holding on. Sometimes I leave anonymous notes in people's mailboxes telling them what will happen next week, and watch their reactions from afar. Voyeurism and graffiti. That's my life these days. Focus on the present. October 8th, 2007. Jack. I started watching him recently. I know Monarch is tracking him, so I keep my distance. I wasn't sure why I felt a need to follow him, to watch his life from the outside, but now I think I understand. I met Jack in the wake of his brother's death, the onset of the fracture, worst day of both of our lives. He was broken. That's the only Jack I ever knew. There's some kind of comfort in seeing him in happier times. I watched his band play a gig nearby, atrociously bad, whiny emo music. Definitely a music movement I didn't need to live through a second time. You and me both, love. But there was something pure about seeing him up there, letting it all out. He never had an easy life. It was nice to see that he found a way to release all that. He just looked happy. It made me forget everything else. The nightmares stopped for a while after that, so I kept following him. It gave me something else to focus on. I've spent most of my life hiding who I am, what I know. I knew Jack for less than 24 hours, but he's the only person I've opened up to about everything I told. I told him the truth. He believed me. I wish I could thank him for that. I'm not sure what I'm going to tell him if he comes through the machine on July 4th, 2010. What will he think when he sees me? 11 years will have passed. Oh, I've aged 3 lifetimes since then. She looks almost exactly the same. And for him, it could only be a matter of minutes. What do I say? That I saw the end? That this might all be for nothing? I was the one who believed without question that we would stop the fracture. Our confidence has now been replaced with insecurity, weakness. I fear letting him see that. I fear that he'll see the doubt in my eyes. For years I felt invincible, full of hope. I'm not that woman anymore. I'm scared. December 11th, 2007. Memory. Tonight I painted something at the university campus. It was only after I was finished and took a step back to look at it that I realised I've seen it before, about a decade ago. Remains of something painted on a wall but washed away. It was a jolt. Is all of this futile? Nothing sticks. Nothing has changed. All of it washed away by the river of time. Fucking time travel.